You thought it was love. The butterflies, the tension, the silence that felt electric. It all felt so real. You told yourself, maybe this time, maybe this one is different. And for a moment, you believed it. You smiled at texts. You ignored red flags. You dreamed of a future that never arrived. But in the end, it ended. Again. Now you're alone. Again. Staring at old messages. Replaying conversations. Wondering what went wrong this time. But deep down, you know this feeling. You've been here before. Maybe not with this person, but with this pattern. So you ask yourself, why do I keep falling for people who hurt me? It feels like the universe is playing some cruel joke. But what if it's not the universe? What if the answer isn't out there? What if it's inside you? Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you'll call it fate. What you think is destiny might just be your wound calling out for attention. You're not chasing love. You're chasing familiarity. You're chasing the emotional flavor of your past. You don't fall in love with people randomly. You're not broken. You're not cursed. You're programmed. Your nervous system is trained to find safety, even in dysfunction. Your unconscious mind seeks to resolve what was once left undone. So when you meet someone who makes you feel the same pain, it feels like home. Not because it's healthy, but because it's familiar. You don't fall in love with who's good for you. You fall in love with who mirrors your unresolved pain. You fall for the person who awakens a child in you, the one who still believes love must be earned through suffering. This isn't just emotional. It's neurological. It's psychological. It's ancient. Your mind is trying to complete a story that was never given an ending. And until you make that story conscious, you will keep choosing the same roles, the same wounds, the same heartbreak, over and over again. This video isn't about blaming yourself. It's about seeing yourself. It's about uncovering the hidden reasons you are drawn to pain, disguised as love. It's about learning the language of your shadow and understanding why it speaks through your attraction. There's a reason why you feel obsessed with someone who treats you like an afterthought. There's a reason why the nice one feels boring, and the one who ignores you feels irresistible. It's not love. It's your trauma trying to resolve itself. So today, we'll go deeper. We'll explore the 5 hidden psychological reasons you keep falling for the wrong people through the lens of Carl Jung's deepest insights into human psyche. These aren't just theories. They're the truths that most never dare to face. You'll finally understand why chemistry can be a trap, why you repeat old patterns even when you swear you've changed, why pain and love feels almost comforting, and most of all, how to finally wake up from the emotional trance. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your healing, and it starts by seeing the truth, no matter how much it hurts. Let's begin. What if I told you that the person you fall for most intensely is not your soulmate, but your shadow, not the light in you, but the darkness you've disowned? Carl Jung called it the shadow, the parts of yourself that you suppress, deny, or bury because the world told you they were unacceptable. And here's a disturbing truth. You are magnetically attracted to people who embody the parts of yourself you're still running from. You don't just fall in love with a person. You fall in love with projection, a mirror of the unresolved. And that mirror is not random. It's made from all the things inside of you that you've been taught to fear, hide, or hate. That rebellious side of you that you suppress to be good. That sensual side of you that you shame in the name of control. That fiery, assertive part of you that got punished when you were younger. Where do you think all those pieces go? They don't disappear. They go into the shadow. And what we suppress internally, we seek externally. So when someone shows up who is bold, wild, unapologetic, something inside you lights up. Why? Because they carry the parts of you that you're still too afraid to own. And it feels electric. It feels powerful, inevitable, fated. But it's not fate. It's your shadow trying to come home. This is why you feel such an intense, almost irrational pull to certain people, even if they're unavailable, even if they hurt you, even if it makes no logical sense. It's not logic. It's alchemy. You are being drawn to yourself through someone else. But here's the danger. When you project your shadow onto another person, you give them immense power over you. They become the symbol of something ancient inside you. They become an idol, not a human. And this is when love becomes obsession. This is when chemistry becomes chaos. Because what you truly want isn't them. What you truly want is to reclaim the part of yourself they reflect. So when they leave, you don't just grieve them. You grieve the piece of you that you never integrated. You feel empty, split, unworthy, not because of who they are, but because of what they represented. They were never just a person. They were a symbol of your forgotten self. Carl Jung warned us, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But when that reaction happens with someone who carries your shadow, the transformation can be violent, explosive, addictive, destructive, unless you learn to meet your shadow within yourself first. This is why shadow work is not optional if you want to love consciously. You must go into the darkness of your own psyche. You must meet the side of you that is seductive, angry, wild, afraid, dominant, or needy. You must embrace what you once rejected, or you will forever chase it in someone else. You can't find wholeness through someone else. You must become whole, and then love becomes something sacred, not desperate. Until then, love will always feel like chasing something just out of reach, because the one you're really chasing is you. So if you keep falling for people who seem magnetic but dangerous, people who light you up and burn you down, stop and ask yourself, what part of me do they embody? What side of me do I admire in them, but deny in myself? Because once you name the shadow, you stop being ruled by it, and you finally take your power back. Let's talk about passion. That uncontrollable pull, that fire, that intoxicating high when you're with them, and the unbearable low when you're not. You call it chemistry. You call it fate. You say, I've never felt this way before. But what if what you're calling passion is actually trauma? What if the spark you feel isn't about connection, but survival? What if that can't live without you feeling? Is your nervous system screaming in familiar panic? This is a terrifying truth. You may be bonding with someone, not because they're good for you, but because they awaken the emotional chaos you grew up with. Carl Jung once said, neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. The body doesn't forget what it felt like to be unseen, to be loved conditionally, to walk on eggshells in order to be safe. So when someone mirrors that feeling, you don't run, you attach. This is what we call trauma bonding. It happens when intermittent rewards, attention, affection, validation, are mixed with emotional unpredictability, coldness, or abuse. And your inner child believes, if I just do everything right, they'll love me. Sound familiar? You see, healthy love is steady, safe, consistent. But if all you've ever known is volatility, safety feels boring, stability feels suspicious. So you chase intensity instead, because your body confuses dysregulation with desire. That adrenaline when they pull away and come back, that ache when it goes silent, that euphoria when they finally give you attention, it's not romance. It's dopamine chaos. Your brain is on a roller coaster, and you mistake it for love. But here's the haunting part. That's exactly how the brain reacts to addiction. You crave the next high. You endure the lows. You justify the pain because of the few good moments in between. And worst of all, you call this devotion. But this isn't devotion. This is a pattern rooted in childhood, when love was inconsistent, when safety came with conditions, when you learned to chase people who made you feel small, because even small love felt better than no love at all. And unless you break this cycle, you will keep returning to the same pain with a new name, a new face, a new voice, but the same emotional wound. Because you're not falling in love. You're falling into the repetition of your trauma. You want to know why you stayed? Because the pain felt familiar. You want to know why the nice one didn't excite you? Because they didn't activate your wounds. And you've been taught to call pain intimacy. Carl Jung's work teaches us that we must confront our early attachments. to understand our present ones. Because your love life isn't happening in a vacuum. It's a reenactment, a subconscious attempt to resolve what your younger self never could. You are not broken for wanting love. You are not weak for craving affection. But if your nervous system is addicted to the highs and lows of toxic love, then you will keep calling to storm your home. To break the trauma bond, you must first recognize the pattern. Ask yourself, why do I feel addicted to this person? Why do I feel anxious when they don't text back, like I'm about to collapse? Why do I excuse behavior I would never tolerate in a friend? And most importantly, did I feel this way when I was a child? Until you answer these questions, you will keep looking for resolution in the arms of someone who was never meant to heal you. You must become the one who gives yourself what they keep withholding: validation, attention, safety, love. Because when you stop chasing the ones who hurt you, you finally make room for the ones who won't. Trauma bonding isn't love. It's a reenactment, a loop, a cycle. But now you've seen it. And the moment you see the pattern, you can step outside of it. You can stop calling pain your destiny. You can start calling peace your birthright. You think you're the one choosing your partners. You believe it's your adult self, rational, mature, experienced, that decides who you fall in love with. But beneath that surface, something far more vulnerable is at work. Someone much younger, someone afraid, someone longing, your inner child. Carl Jung believed that within each of us lives every version we've ever been: the child, the teenager, the wounded adolescent, the silenced dreamer, the one who cried silently into the pillow and never truly felt heard. And unless we make contact with these inner figures, they will keep influencing our decisions, especially in love. Here's the truth. You're not falling for that person. You're falling into a hope that maybe this time someone will finally stay. Someone will finally choose you, validate you, make you feel safe, make you feel enough. But this is a setup. Because your inner child isn't looking for a partner. They're looking for a parent. And the moment your lover starts behaving like your mother or your father, withholding affection, being emotionally distant, criticizing or abandoning you, your child self wakes up and it says, "This time I'll be good enough. This time I'll earn the love I never received." So you try harder. You silence your needs. You become smaller. You tolerate the unacceptable. Not because you're naive, but because your inner child believes that if they can win this person's love, they'll finally heal. But you can't heal the past by reliving it. Your inner child is not trying to destroy you. They're trying to complete a story. They're trying to undo the abandonment. They're trying to rewrite the rejection. They're trying to be loved in all the ways they never were. But here's the paradox. The more you let the child choose, the more they will lead you back into the same pain, in the same pattern, with different people. Because a child doesn't know how to discern safety. They only know how to seek familiarity. And pain can feel familiar. Carl Jung wrote, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents." And many of us carry that burden still. We carry the rage we were never allowed to express. We carry the longing we never got to release. We carry the guilt of not being enough, even though it was never ours to hold. And then we bring it into our relationships, expecting a lover to do what a parent never did. But love is not reparenting. Love cannot fix the childhood that shaped you. Only you can do that. You must go back, not to stay, but to reclaim the pieces you left behind. You must sit with a child inside you and let them grieve. Let them cry. Let them scream. Let them say, "It wasn't fair." And when they finally say it, you, the adult, must answer, "I know, but I'm here now, and I will never leave you again." When you heal the child within, you stop expecting your partner to save you. You stop mistaking emotional chaos for love. You stop shrinking just to be accepted, because now you belong to yourself. This is the soul work. This is what Jung meant by individuation, the process of becoming whole. It's not about becoming perfect. It's not about being healed before you love. It's about being aware of who is doing the choosing. Is it your adult self? Or is it the little one Still trying to earn love they should have received freely? You don't need to keep auditioning for love. You don't need to chase what was always meant to be yours. Love is not a prize. It's a birthright. But first, you must give it to the one who needed it most, the small version of you who still waits in silence. Sometimes, when we fall in love, we don't fall in love with them. We fall in love with a dream, with a reflection, with a fantasy. Carl Jung called it the Anima and the Animus, the unconscious soul image within us all. And when we meet someone who activates that image, we don't see them as they are. We see what we long for. The Anima is the unconscious feminine in the man. The Animus is the unconscious masculine in the woman. Each one is a blueprint of the qualities we lack but deeply desire. Mystery, power, tenderness, confidence, intensity, gentleness, dominance, freedom. These inner archetypes shape what we perceive as attraction. Here's the trap. You meet someone and they mirror the image inside you. They speak your soul's language, not because they're your soulmate, but because your soul is speaking through them. So you project, you give them divine status. You call them the one. You overlook red flags. You ignore incompatibility because you're not seeing a person. You're seeing a piece of your own soul. This is why you felt it so intensely. This is why they seem destined. But that sense of destiny, it's not about them. It's your anima or animus coming alive and using that person as its canvas. And when the fantasy begins to fade, you feel betrayed. You say, they changed. They became someone else. But the truth is, they were never that person. You just never saw them clearly. Carl Jung warned, the more projections are thrust between the subject and the environment, the harder it is to see reality. You were not in love. You were enchanted by a projection. And when that spell breaks, you're left not only heartbroken, but disillusioned. This is a devastating moment in so many relationships. When reality enters the room, when the fantasy burns away, when the soul image fades and the human remains. And for many, this is a point of collapse, because they didn't fall in love with a person. They fell in love with an ideal. So what do? How do we escape the projection trap? We must do what Jung called the withdrawal of projections. We must look at the one we idolize and ask, what part of my soul have I placed onto this person? What inner longing have I dressed in their face? What divine quality do they awaken in me that perhaps I've forgotten I already possess? Because the truth is haunting and beautiful. What you love in them was always yours. That mystery, it's in you. That depth, it's yours. That intensity, it lives inside your soul. They simply reminded you of it. So the next time someone takes your breath away, pause, feel the magic, but stay grounded. Ask yourself, is this love or projection? Because true love sees clearly. It honors the real, not the fantasy, not the ideal, but the flawed, sacred human behind the mask. To love without projection is rare, but it is the foundation of spiritual union. When you withdraw the anima or animus, when you integrate those qualities within, you no longer need the other to complete you. You meet them as two souls, whole unto yourselves. And that is when love becomes sacred. We talk a lot about fear of abandonment, but there's a deeper fear most of us never name. A fear that hides behind the drama, the chasing, the heartbreak. The fear of real intimacy, not physical closeness, emotional nakedness, psychological vulnerability, spiritual exposure, the terrifying truth of being fully seen, without the armor, without the mask, without control. Many of us say we want love, but what we really want is safety within control. We want closeness, but we fear what it might reveal, because real intimacy, it doesn't just touch your body. It touches your wounds, your memories, your shame, your truth. And most of us aren't ready for that. Carl Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And what is intimacy, if not the mirror of the soul? When someone looks at you with love, real love, you can no longer hide, not behind your ego, not behind your trauma, not behind your perfectionism or detachment. You must show up as you are, and for many, that is more terrifying than being alone. So you self-sabotage. You pick the ones who can't stay. You chase the emotionally unavailable. You run from the ones who care too much. You create drama where there was peace. Because pain is predictable. But intimacy? Intimacy is unpredictable. It asks something of you. It asks you to be still, to be open, to be honest. And that honesty threatens every survival strategy you've built. When chaos is all you've known, peace feels dangerous. When abandonment was your childhood normal, consistency feels suspicious. When love once came with conditions, unconditional care feels alien. So you pull away, or you push them away, and then you say, I just don't feel the spark. But the spark wasn't love. It was your nervous system's addiction to the familiar ache of rejection. The truth? You weren't bored. You were safe. And you didn't know what to do with it. This is why so many chase after pain and run from peace. Because peace requires presence. And presence brings everything to the surface. All the grief you buried. All the shame you swallowed. All the love you never gave yourself. This is what intimacy does. It doesn't just connect. It reveals. And to truly love another, you must first allow yourself to be known. Not the curated version. Not the polished persona. But the raw, trembling, human you. Carl Jung's process of individuation was not about self-improvement. It was about self-revelation. Facing the totality of who you are, your light, your shadow, your wounds, your wonder, and then showing up in a relationship from a place of wholeness, not need. So if you keep running from those who want to love you, if you keep feeling numb with people who are kind, if you keep calling healthy love boring, ask yourself, what part of me is afraid of being seen? Because until you name that fear, you'll continue to choose pain over peace. Real intimacy is not fireworks. It's not adrenaline. It's not a test of how much you can endure. It's stillness. It's safety. It's being home in each other's eyes. And that can only happen when you first made a home in yourself. So if you keep falling for the ones who break you, who burn bright and leave ashes, understand, it was never just about them. It was about you, your shadow, your trauma, your inner child, your soul image, your fear of intimacy. You were never choosing love blindly. You were following the blueprint of your wounds. But now you see, and what is seen can be healed. Carl Jung once said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Now that you've looked within, you don't need to chase chaos. You don't need to earn love. You are already enough. And the kind of love you are always searching for begins now